What he had to say about roads. Let's hear him.
It is in the road sector that we have registered the greatest infrastructure achievement. I know that the word unprecedented is often used with careless abandon in our public discourse, but I use it carefully and purposefully. In the 5 years of my government, so far, more roads have been built, improved, and upgraded than at any equivalent period under any government in the history of Ghana. Some 10,885 kilometers of new roads have been constructed in these 5 years. Let me mention, Mr. Speaker, that yesterday it was my honor and great pleasure to have commissioned the Tamale interchange, the first such interchange in the northern sector of our country, which the people of Tamale gladly celebrated. I considered it to be a most satisfying birthday present. We intend to continue with the building of roads around the country to accelerate the opening up of our country.
Morning Show.
Yeah, so that's what the president had to say about roads.
Well, so you know that the Minister of Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amwakwata, was in Parliament, and he presented a document to Parliament. In his words, he's presenting a comprehensive document of all roads constructed from 2017 to May 2021. Now, I have a copy of that document that he presented to Parliament. So this is the document. Summary activities in the road sector. Asphalt overlay by the Department of Urban Roads, 1,463. Construction, 68.5 kilometers. Graveling and re-graveling, 955 kilometers. Partial reconstruction, 139 kilometers. Reconstruction, 90.4 kilometers. Rehabilitation, 837.27 kilometers. Resealing, 86.2 kilometers. Spot improvement, 139.57. Upgrading, 482.83. Total, 4,263. So these are the roads that we're talking about.
Right.
Then, I also chanced upon another document that says that between May 2017, between June 2021 to December 2021, grading, that's Department of Feeder Roads, spot improvement, 4,910. 4,910 kilometers. Critical roads, mainly the Ghana Highways Authority, 312. Then Cocoa Roads by the Feeder Roads Department, 367. Town Roads, 122. Now, per this document, between June 2021 to December 2021, a total of 6,412 kilometers of roads have been worked on.
From June
2021 to December 2021. 6,412 kilometers. And the roads, mainly 4,910 of them, is what you call spot improvement.
Fixing potholes.
Well, let's find out from the experts what this means, because Engineer Abdullahi Mahama has joined us on the phone.
Engineer Mahama, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning.
Let's start straight with the point. What exactly does it mean when you say spot improvements?
Hold on. Let me just, I think I'm having a feedback from you.
Right. Let's see if Engineer Mahama can reposition himself so we can hear him a bit clearer.
Are you okay now?
Perfect. Okay. Please tell us, what does spot improvement mean?
Well, I would want to use this opportunity to say a good morning to your cherished listeners and a good morning to Ghana. When you have a road right in front of Joy FM and the road has experienced or witnessing some depressions, potholes are developing on the road. You're having some potholes we have gone beyond that level to gullies. When you see those few Kia trucks with pre-coated chippings, if I say pre-coated, it means chippings which have been coated with bitumen, coming to those sections of the road, cutting them to even squares surfaces, sometimes using some gravels to cover the depressions to get to the level of the existing road, apply some bitumen or coat paint, and then now spread the chippings, the coated chippings on them, and then use a small roller, pedestrian roller, to compact them. It means you have improved on the potholes on the road.
So it's basically fixing potholes.
Sorry?
So spot improvements is basically fixing potholes.
Of course, yes, it's just like I was doing pothole patches.
Okay.
So spots,
all right,
improvements.
Now
it's not the main road that has just been graded and been improved upon.
Okay. So I mean, to the untrained person, when you hear spot improvements measured in kilometers, how exactly does that work? How do you measure potholes in kilometers?
All right. So mostly what they do is that we pay road construction in square meters. It's a superficial item. In this case, we are not paying by volume, as in 1 liter or 2 liters or 1 cubic or 2 cubic. Because all the various layers that are laid under the road are with a certain uniform thickness. You'll be able to identify the square meter, what it constitutes in terms of volume. But because you are dealing with uniform thicknesses from the subgrade, the subbase, the base, the crash rock to the asphalt, you measure them in meter squares. So when a contractor or a subcontractor is contracted to go and do spot improvement, it is sometimes you see that they are spraying some paints on the roads, like squares or triangles or rectangles, depending on the nature of the deterioration of those roads. So all these measurements are supposed to be used in quantifying and paying the subcontractor after the work had been done, because it's a superficial item.
Okay.
So mostly if a standard road is about 6.5 meters in width, and let's say, width, and then per every meter you are paid, that is the calculation that has been done across the whole length and breadth of the country. And then it has been, let me say, transmogrified into mileage in terms of standard road. So let's say somebody is going to do 6 of 1 square meter potholes times 100. So the first 6, when you join them, is the standard width of a road. So you are dealing with about 100 meters of pothole patches that has been done. So in that breadth, you can quantify in terms of mileage or length.
Right. Okay. So what this document Winston is referring to is saying in a nutshell is that between March?
June 2021 to
June and
December 2021.
Ghana has fixed
4,910.
910 kilometers of potholes.
I wish government would be able to have been more elaborate, as in giving us areas where some of these potholes have been executed. If I look at the Ofankor to Dobro stretch of the Nsawam Road, and I could just estimate under 300 meters, less than 300 meters of pothole patches done over the last 2 years. That is a major road in the country which has had an extreme deterioration, where you cannot drive about 40 kilometers per hour on the main central corridor road from Accra to Tamale, Kumasi to Paga. And if we have done 4,000 in excess of pothole patches, we need to be given some further and better particulars to be able to substantiate the figures that have been peddled to the Ghanaian public.
But
we need, because once it's so difficult if you don't put names to this, because it's not a continuous road that you have put that from Accra to Tema. We have done maybe 15 meters of that one. We have done about 7 meters or 700 meters. We're talking about 4,000 excess of kilometer of pothole patching. We need to get information.
Okay, so let's look at another issue. Now, the president was very categorical. He says, we have constructed 10,885 kilometers of new roads. What constitutes new roads?
All right. If your listeners would appreciate the Accra Kumasi Highway, when you get to Dobro, where we have this big factory called Blue Sky, initially there was no road continuing to the Kumasi Sukumu Road. You have to go through the Nsawam town to connect to Tichamante and go towards Sukumu to Kumasi.
Yes.
Now, in the 2008 September, the then President John Ejekunku from His Excellency decided to do a diversion or a bypass, complete diversion of a road from the town, so that it can be able to eliminate the traffic. So when you go through a virgin forest and clear the trees, the stumps, the farm product and everything, and you build a new road from the scratch, that is what you are talking about. It could be a path. It could be just like a farm road, which people are just walking, bicycles, motorbikes, and then maybe because of the continuity of the place has widened. But government has earmarked that place for a connector road to a certain town, and then they embark on the road from the scratch. That is a new road. If we are talking about the Ofankor to Nsawam, which I know government is about to construct, that is a reconstruction of a road. So the two differences are virgin forest or a road which has never been done before. It's a newly constructed road when the government executes that project.
So the president's claim that since 2017 we have seen the construction of 10,000 kilometers of new roads. As a person who operates in that space, are you able to reconcile those numbers?
As at last year, somewhere in May, when the Minister for Roads and Highways met the press and did, expatiated on the ongoing project under his watch, we had about 4,000 plus, I think 4,263.37 specific roads across the 16 regions of the country as at May last year. I don't know whether what Adami just stated, which is the grading of a road, which is about I don't know whether it was 4,000 that he stated earlier before you interviewed. I think 4,000. If the grading, it is what is being classified as a new road or part of the road, then I have my few questions to ask the minister and those who wrote the speech for the President of the Republic. I can say on authority, I have been in the field of road construction from the year 2004, and continuously for the past 18 years, I've been on roads. If you take over 80 contractors and you fully pay them their money, or for the project contract sum from last year May to this year March, you cannot execute 6,000 kilometers of roads.
Not
Because
even
it's
not even with
about
grading.
Sorry?
Not even grading of roads.
That's what I'm saying. That if it's about grading, then we have 100,000 roads in the country, because individuals are doing grading to their shop, their factories, and other things. But is that what we are classifying as the roads? Is that what we are trying to classify as roads that have been completed? That is a question. So that's why I said we need clarity. The Minister for Roads and Highways, the PRO of the Minister of Roads and Highways, ought to come to your program like this, and then when we ask the questions, they explain so that it will benefit the whole country. Then we can tell and critique what they mean by the roads which have been fully constructed. And I'm saying that you put 50 contractors on a road, on almost all our roads in the country. From Accra to Paga is under 900 kilometers of road, not even 1,000. You're talking about 10,000? Or let's say 6,000. Let's take the 4,000 out of the 10,000. We're having about 6,000 from Accra Central Post Office. It's where we mostly pick our reference point when we are doing marriages in Ghana. From Accra Central, the old post office around the media center, right to Kumasi is under 260 kilometers. From Accra to the Paga, to our border area, is under 1,000 kilometers. Let's say 1,000 kilometers. You are talking about 10 or 6 times that one in less than 10 months. It cannot be. No contractor, no international contractor will be able to execute that project, because you have to do culverts, you have to do cut and spoil, you have to do cut and fill, you meet waterlogged areas, you meet swampy areas. That will take so much time to remove all the bad material. So that you come and cover with boulders, you come and put weathered rocks, you come and put the gravel, you wait for the cover to cure in 28 days. So if you have 10 culverts on, let's say, 50 meters, 3 kilometer or 10 kilometer stretch of a road, it takes 28 days satisfactory before you can put the traffic onto the culvert after you have done the successful backfilling layer by layer and compacted to achieve a certain percentage. And you cannot do the whole stretch of a culvert across the carriageway if it is within a town. So you have to do one side of the traffic as the carriageway, as you divert traffic onto the other lane. And then when you are done with the 28 days, sometimes you can do it in 14 days, depending on the strength you have achieved. And you do the compaction, and you come and put the traffic on that one, and you start the excavation on the other side. So the duration, methodology of how you have to construct a road, you cannot do that. And looking at the contractors we have, they are very super contractors. But looking at the challenges we've had in the country, as in payment of contractors, suspension of work here and there, and we have done 6,000 excess in less than 10 months. Are they asphalt binder concrete course? Are they concrete roads? Are they surface dress roads? Surface dress road is the one that you do the gravel. When you are done with the gravel, you come and put the bitumen, you spray the bitumen on the road, and then you spray the chippings on it, and you roll for some time, and you do the other second layer after maybe a week or 2 or 3. And you come and do the third layer in about a week or 2 or 3 when the bitumen has oxidized. So even with that one, look at the process I've just given you. And you come to the asphalt binder concrete core, where you come and do your mechanical stabilization. That is, you are mixing gravel and chippings to get a certain CB at the strength. Or you do the gravel, what we call chemical stabilization, where you put cement, maybe 5% of cement of volume to the volume of material to spread and compact and water. Test, wait for some time, come and put the crash rock on it. You test the layers, you come and do the asphalt, the binder. The first layer is the DBM, you come and do the binder, you come and do the panel out, the wiring, the duration. We need some clearer information from whoever wrote the information, the speeches to the President of the Republic of Ghana. And I'm sure that maybe the Minister of Roads and Highways, after this interview, may come and counter some of the things by giving us more information that some of us are not privy to as we
So,
speak where we are.
Engineer Mahama, let's go with what we are privy to. You quoted from a report, a document from the Ministry of Roads, and you in that document, according to that document, how many kilometers of new roads, by the technical definition you've given us, how many kilometers of new roads have been constructed since the President Akufo-Addo assumed office in 2017?
What I have here, that's 68.5 construction.
How many kilometers?
I'm using a document, reconstruction, rehabilitation. But if you say construction, they are, because I've not seen them write anything like new construction. What they have here is 68.5 kilometers of total road.
Please repeat that.
60 construction. That's the item number 2 on after the asphalt overlay. That's when you go to the Ministry of Roads and Highways. The data they brought, summary by activity.
Yes.
So you have the Department of Federal Roads, you have the Department of Urban Roads, Department of the Ghana Highway Authority, and the grand total, the construction is 68.50.
So according to the Roads Ministry, since 2017, when President Akufo-Addo assumed office, government has constructed 68.5 kilometers.
So you see, one of the things that I want to add here is that it will not be fair to use that, because a construction and the reconstruction or rehabilitation is the same in terms of cost. It might just differ because of some few environmental factors. So let's say in 2004 to 2007, when the Kufuor administration, His Excellency, had the concessional loan from China to construct the Ofankor to Nsawam, which was 17.243 kilometers. That road was expanded, but it will be categorized under rehabilitation or reconstruction. So if you look at the reconstruction here, there is about 827.27. So these are major roads which have been constructed. But even though it has been reconstructed, in that case, there have been other features added in terms of maybe culverts, intersections, some flyovers, some slip roads, some service lanes, and these are major when it comes to the cost. So right. I will just be magnanimous in trying to appreciate what that. But if you say reconstruction,
I would like us to be factual rather than magnanimous. So these reconstructed roads, would you call them new roads?
When I'm looking at cost components.
No, not cost component. I want to be technical here. Would you call them new roads?
Yeah, so that is what I see here to be 68.5 kilometers.
68.5 kilometers of new roads.
Yes, according to their own sheet that we have here.
All right, thank you.
Great. So, Engineer Mahama, you're talking about grading, and you said, that cannot be said to be new roads. When you say grading from a technical point of view, what do you mean?
Mostly that falls under the Department of Feeder Roads.
Yes. Because
you don't have gravel roads mostly dominated in the city centers. Even though Accra has expanded such that there are equally very bad roads or gravel roads, a lot of them in the outskirts, the immediate outskirts of Accra. When you go to Amasaman, you see thousands of them. You go to Dodowa Road, Amrahia, Fafahat, inside there you see a lot of them. When you go towards Kaswa area, you see some of them within there, but they dominate in the hinterlands, the cocoa, the farming communities. So those roads basically are graded in a certain shape. They camber the road so that the middle of the road or the carriage will be a bit higher. So in case of rainfall, there are some small ditches at the extreme ends of the carriageway which will carry the water immediately out of the road, because the water is a very good component of the road, but at the same time, the worst enemy when it stands on the road and the road is saturated. So you see most of the gravel roads which are dusted. You are driving on there, you see that it just produce so much dust. They are the gravel, and they are mostly in the hinter. But from 2015 or 12 thereabout, I think we started doing. That's why the cocoa syndicated loan became a good thing for all of us. And so even the feeder roads now are doing almost all the roads to the farming communities, the surface dress road. I mean, in terms of the classification of the road, that's the cheapest in terms of category, the concrete, the asphalt, and then the surface dress road. So the gravel ones you see in your hometown, my village, those are what we call the gravelled roads under the Department of Feeder Roads.
And those ones are not new roads.
No, they are some of them are new roads. Some of them are new. We call something graveling and reshaping. If you look at what they said here, I don't know whether they added upgrading. I've seen upgrading as part of the. I've looked at the item number 3. If you have it.
Yes, I have the document.
Graveling stroke re-graveling. So you
Yes.
get it. So they gave the 2. So the stroke means that the re-graveling is the one which already exists, and then because they have developed a lot of potholes. Even the gravel road also develops potholes, because once the water stands on it, or some of the areas are with a very bad material, I mean, they can just be localized. So when you see those things and the road becomes highly unmotorable for those who are commuting those areas, the assemblies sometimes engage their own machines or some subcontractors to reshape some of the farming roads for them. And the moment it's a bigger road or a very longer one, the government comes in through the feeder roads to do them. So you see that they have stated graveling and road graveling, but they lumped it up. So I don't know whether the graveling could be 50% of what they have stated there, or 80%, or the road graveling is 90% and the graveling is 10%. So that's what I'm saying, that they have had all this information given to us, all right. But we think we still need some more flesh to add to the bone so that the skeleton can function.
Okay. Well, Engineer Mahama, thank you very, very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
It's the Super Morning Show. We're talking about the State of the Nation address, and President had quite a lot to say.
So, Kojo, I mean, this is what Engineer Mahama has told us. He's told us that when you talk about new roads, you're talking about roads that never existed. And he's giving us a typical road, the Nsawam bypass. And he's explained construction to mean new roads. So, per the document submitted to Parliament, of which we have a copy here, that's 68.5 kilometers. That's the new roads that have been constructed.
And that was 68.5 kilometers of new road as at
2021 May. Yeah.
So that would have to mean that from 2021 May to 2022 March, in order for the president's statement to be correct, we would have had to construct 9,940 something, 930 something new roads.
New routes. Well, the evidence here, based on the Ministry of Roads and Highways' own document, which it submitted to Parliament, we have not constructed 10,885 new roads. That is not the situation.
Okay.
And so the president's statement that we have constructed 10,885 new roads, based on the explanation Engineer Mahama is giving us, based on their own documents, is false.
All right, then. More from the president when we come back.
The military academy at Tessie is being modernized, and we're keeping our armed forces retooled and equipped to enable them to live up to their duties. Each of the different branches of the armed forces, the Army, Navy, and Air Force, has received significant financial assistance to upgrade its logistical bases and strengthen its capabilities. And its welfare requirements are being substantially addressed. We're building modernized armed forces with higher numbers of personnel that will be fit to meet the demands of the 21st century. The protection of our borders puts extra burden on the military, especially since there's increased terrorist activity in the region and instability in many of our neighboring countries. 15 forward operating bases, or FOBs as they are called, are being constructed across the country to help in the prevention of cross-border crimes and terrorist activity. Mr. Speaker, I believe we can all testify that our police service is undergoing a great improvement and a change of image before our very eyes. During times of anxiety, we need a responsive police service to boost the confidence of the population, and it is good to see the police rise up to the challenge. Nothing starts people off in a bad mood more than the driving habits and traffic jams that create chaos on our roads and make every road journey a nightmare. Gradually, the police are bringing order to the roads, and we all now know that the law is no respecter of persons or vehicle types. Mr. Speaker, it might also be well that coup d'etats have re-entered our discourse because of the turmoil in our neighborhood. The West African region is suddenly back in the international news headlines for all the wrong reasons. We're back again as the region of political instability and the place for coups. Long and bitter experience led ECOWAS to its current stance of zero intolerance for military coups. We in Ghana know the cost of instability. It leads to the exodus of our artisans and professionals and the emptying of teachers from our schools. Speaker, today, at every traffic light junction in our big towns and cities, you can see the results of instability in our neighborhood with the influx of refugees into our country. We should be unapologetic about campaigning for stable democratic governments in our region. We do not want to be an island of peace and stability in a region of turmoil. We do not aspire to be prosperous in the midst of want and poverty. We want a stable and prosperous Ghana in a stable and prosperous region. I've spoken on other occasions about the digitization of port operations, or what we now call the paperless port. I'm glad to say that the initial problems have been largely overcome, and we're witnessing the advantages in faster processes at the port and less opportunities for corruption with the reduction of human interface. ICOMS, when it was introduced, provoked a lot of controversy. At the moment, we're seeing the benefits. Indeed, customs revenue, prior to the implementation of ICOMS, for the period June 19 to May 20, stood at 11.5 billion cedis. Between June 2020, the start of ICOMS, and May 2021, teething challenges, ill-considered propaganda, and the impact of COVID-19 on global trade notwithstanding, customs revenue has increased by 27.6% to 14.36 billion cedis. Indeed,
Super Morning Show.
You're welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy. And the president had quite a bit to say about security. First, he talked about plans for the enhancement of welfare for the military. He praised the police for upgrading their profile, their public profile and reputation.
Yeah.
And then he talked about how we must be unapologetic about our campaign for peace in the sub-region and our battle against coup d'etats and the usurpation of democratic governance in the region.
Sure, and very important points out there, because there's something you call neighborhood effect. So when it's happening within the sub-region, you should be careful. It could happen in the country. Well, let's get on to the phone lines now, because we're joined by Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante, who is Director of Policy Engagement at CDD Ghana, and he's joined us on the phone.
Dr. Asante, good morning. It's a pleasure to have you as always.
Good morning, Kojo. Good morning to everybody that's listening and watching.
So let's deconstruct what the president is saying, particularly on coup d'etats and even the bit on corruption, which we will touch on later. But let's start with what he had to say on coup d'etats. it's an interesting time in Ghana when it comes to that particular topic, isn't it?
Yes, that's very true. I think the issue is that, if you look at the threats that we are facing in the sub-region with the extremism, it's coming from all sides, from land, from sea. A lot of the statements he made in reference to security services is all a reflection of our acknowledgement that we have to protect our borders and really pay attention to the movements of people within our land borders as well. In 2019, for example, the UN Office of Drugs, for example, noted that almost 90% of the piracy cases that happen across the globe were in the Gulf of Guinea area. So that gives you a sense of how vulnerable all our borders are in terms of extremism coming in and the fear of terrorism and so on. So I think that it is something that not only governments but citizens must acknowledge that these times are very difficult times, and we have to be very security sensitive and security aware. But I think the key point the president talked about why we should jealously guard democratic process, I think it's something that we also have to take note that we cannot be just an island of peace, but also that we have to not be an island in learning lessons. We need to learn the lessons of what has happened in other countries, because there's a direct nexus between governance or misgovernance and the prospects of coups and conflict. Right. If you take a recent report from if you look, there's a database called the Armed Conflict Location and Events Data Project, which looks at all incidents of violence and so on. And it reported that in 2021 we had as many as 13,000 protests and riots in Africa, where over 1,300 people died. Right? And most of those protests were protests about lack of safety, inequality, corruption, and issues like that. So it tells you that how we govern, it's an important factor in whether or not you keep your internal system stable, you keep your state stable, and you don't expose it to things like unconstitutional overthrow of the political system. Right. And so I think for me, that if there's going to be any lesson we learn from that, we have to look at issues of the politics of exclusion, how we are handling protest and the free expression of people's political rights. For example, the recent issues with the Fix the Country, ICA and people like that, and how we assert the rule of law, even where we are trying to maintain security. It's very, very important, because that fairness, that justice, that sense of equality before the law, it's very, very important. If you don't observe those things, then you create conditions for instability and conflict in society.
One of the things that could create conditions would be corruption, for instance. And listening to the president, now he talks about, and I just want to quote him here, he says, Mr. Speaker, while on the subject of law enforcement, the passage of the Right to Information Act, the Witness Protection Act, the amendment of the Criminal Offences Act, and other laws have enhanced significantly the capacity of the state in the fight against corruption. Have these enhanced our capacity in the fight against corruption? What is there to show in our fight against corruption?
So the issue about corruption, and sometimes I feel like a broken record when it comes to this, because also I see that in a lot of the president's speeches related to corruption, he repeats the inputs, the same inputs that governments are making, and that's fine and fair for whatever it's worth. Like when you talk about right to information, yes, there's still a lot to be done in terms of making it, citizens more aware of the processes and taking advantage of it. Some of the media organizations like the Fourth Estate and so on seem to have been able to utilize it. And the RTI Commission, for instance, is doing a good job in terms of holding the line and making sure that the law is being implemented. So there's still yet, a way to go for us to be able to assess how much of it has enabled the anti-corruption effort. But at least if you see what like the Fourth Estate and other people are doing, even though they're going through blockages from the state, there's still, it shows the potential of the right to information. The Criminal Offences Act amendment bill actually is currently at the consideration stage before Parliament. That is really to deal with plea bargaining options that might allow us to focus on recovering assets and maybe address sort of closing cases much earlier. So I don't know when that will be passed, but so those are all kind of potential. If you talk about budgetary allocation, it can be relative. I mean, just applying inflation means that whatever you give 10 years ago, you can't give 10 years later, right? So sometimes those things are not, for me, as important. But the most valid point is that in spite of our inputs, the outcome measures for how far we have come in addressing corruption is not showing any progress. You take a 10-year look at the Corruption Perception Index, and our best case scenario is that we have stagnated. Our worst case scenario is that we have deteriorated. So if you take the CPI, you take the Afrobarometer studies,
Exactly.
you take the Auditor General's annual reports, there is no evidence that we are making progress on these issues or the incidence of corruption. So the point that we have made, and those of us who have been looking at these issues, is that government has to relook at the efforts it's making in terms of the inputs against the outcomes and interrogate, to why we are not getting the impact that we are getting. Digitization, I concede, has also another one that has potential, but we need to be able to show how it actually reduces corruption, whether or not it has actually reduced corruption. The president, for example, talked about the ports and the fact that revenues may have increased. That is good news, but understand how, which corruption blockages that it has
Now,
sealed,
you've made
so
a point.
you can replicate it in other places. So we are almost at a space where government is happy to talk about its inputs and what it's contributing, but is not willing to look at the outcomes for us to be able to assess whether or not we are making progress or not.
Talking about the inputs and the outcomes, we know the outcome. The Corruption Perception Index will give us will tell us whether we're performing well or not. And the evidence will be there for us to see. You've talked about the fact that the outcomes may not be the best. What does it tell you about the inputs? What's the lacuna in here? Because we seem to be talking a lot about, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, we've passed this law, we've passed that law. Why are we not seeing the desired outcome?
Well, I have raised that there is a fundamental issue that has to be addressed, and that has to do with political party financing. The incentives that generates, the cost of campaigning, the cost of politics has been rising, election by election. And some of the studies we've done recently has made it very clear that these things are not sustainable. I think anybody that's been looking at the internal party elections for polling station agents and so on for the MPP, for example, would show that monetization in politics is getting way out of hand. So if you are going to appoint and elect people who already have saw their hands, during the process of, going through the nomination and for their parties and so on and so forth, then it is very, very difficult to expect that when they come into office, they would be willing and able to restrain themselves from putting their hands into the state coffers. And then the problem you have is that, unfortunately, the people you are electing and appointing as leaders, democratic leaders who would have control and hold people accountable, they are the same people who will be compromised. So how do you ensure that you are able to have the procurement processes intact, for instance, and that it will not be manipulated? So there's a fundamental problem with the campaign financing regime we have, and we have to tackle it. We at CDD, we are pushing for that, and we expect that both government and other stakeholders will come together for us to fix that, because that, for me, I think is the biggest problem that we have. But government has a responsibility, even as we try to deal with those structures. And the point you make, there is a clear gap between the inputs and the outcomes. But we don't seem to be able to carry the conversation beyond the inputs to interrogate the outcomes. Okay, we are giving money. Where are we spending the money on? Where are we spending the money? Are we giving it to investigative bodies? What are the investigative bodies using it for? Why we are not be able to get? We have so many cases implicating government officials, and they are all either at IOCO, they might be at Attorney General. We are not getting movements on it. So it might not even be the fact that we've increased the budget, but it might be just a political will issue. If we are not prepared to interrogate that, then we are not going to be able to say why there's a gap and how we are going to be able to fix it. But it's obvious that the progress is not shown.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kojo Asante, for joining us. We're very grateful to you as the Director of Policy and Advocacy at CDD Ghana. Let's get to security again, and we're joined by Professor Kwesi Ening, who is Director at the Faculty of Academic Affairs at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Professor Ening, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, good morning.
Great. So looking at the State of the Nation address, the president talks about a few things. He talks about the fact that, and this is a quote, we're building a modernized armed forces with higher numbers of personnel that will be fit to meet the demands of the 21st century. The protection of our borders puts extra burdens on the military, especially since there's increased terrorist activity in the region and instability in many of our neighboring countries. Talks about 15 forward operating bases, as they're called, are being constructed across the country to help in the prevention of cross-border crimes and terrorist activities. Finally, he says, I believe we can all testify that our police service is undergoing a great improvement and a change of image before our very eyes. What's your assessment about the president's statement on the state of security in the country?
Well, I think it's crucial and critical to locate this particular statement that you cited within the larger context of where Ghana is located and the threat around it. And I think he makes a very strong argument that there cannot be a stable Ghana within a stable Supreme. And I really like that point very much. Now, what does a modern army do? A modern army is people-centered, driven by the desire to respond both to external threats, but increasingly importantly, to internal dynamics that can threaten the stability of the state and also its community. And I think those are the demands of the 21st century. And linking that to borders and boundaries is that, yes, we are building 15 forward operating bases. But because the threat, as the president might have indicated, is increasingly coming down south, the role of borders and border security management becomes very important. So whilst we build a forward operating base and recognizing the importance of borders, we would need to build on our capacities and capabilities to detect and counter terrorists, but also serious criminals. And how can we do this? And this is where I think issues of logistics come in. So when you pass through the borders legitimately, particularly the airports, we need advanced passenger information, we need passenger name records, and the data to improve the use of the national database. So in terms of the military side, the border side, the logistics are necessary. We need to improve the doctrine of fast-moving, flexible, responsive army, that is located within communities and work satisfy the community.
Okay.
There is no doubt at all with respect to the police service that we are seeing an increasing improvement in the delivery of law enforcement. But I've also always said, because Dr. Dan Parry is providing a new kind of leadership, that within the service itself, we are beginning to see different forms of resistance. But they will be defeated. They will be identified. Okay. They will be crushed. Okay. I think the president also makes the point that the new form of policing does not, selectively let people off the hook. That no one is above the hook. Okay. And if these processes continue, what we are going to see will be a society that is law-abiding, that respects its police service, that provides intelligence and information, and a service that sees the community and individuals as part of providing law and enforcement. So the particular emphasis and the completion of what the police is doing, in my view, is very important. And kudos to the Ghana Police Service and its lead.
Now, when reading the statement and reading the part on security, the president talks about, instability, particularly importing it into the country. Now, that would suggest also diagnosing a problem that tells us that there could possibly be persons wanting to come into the country to destabilize the country. You are an expert within the field. Have we diagnosed the problem properly? Even though we talk about the fact that we should all protect the peace, are we focusing too much on external forces?
Well, I think that is what I started with. I mean, there is a two-sidedness to this. Earlier on, we focused a lot on the externality. My argument is that we need to look within. And that is why an efficient, effective, responsive Ghana Police Service is critical to identifying potential internal challenges. And I think the president alluded to, some of these potential challenges with the assertion that a lot of the people who are around traffic lights have moved into the country from, coup-prone states, that is some of our neighboring states. I think that threat assessment is not wholly correct, because we've seen the seasonal flow of people into Ghana from Mali, Niger, Chad, I mean, countries that do not have these forms of political instability, but mainly because of climate variability, issues of migration, and increasingly also the desire to graze their crops. So I felt that was quite an unfortunate statement, because those who sell on the street, and there's a fantastic piece of work done at the University of Queensland by a young Ghanaian scholar, showing how those who live on the street, Ghanaians who live on the street, themselves are becoming a very critical threat to this country. Issues of unemployment, of unemployability, small arms flows, the expanding unplanned urban space. So they are a conglomeration of purely domestic Ghanaian issues that combine in complex formation to pose potential threats, to the country. So both the externalities and the domestic imperatives combine pose these potential threats.
One of the domestic imperatives has to do with employment and all of that, and that's something that is dependent on policy and government to solve, isn't it?
Well, it's not just about creating employment opportunities. Yes, government has a role, but certainly the private sector also does have a role. Employability also relates to the acquisition of particular skill sets necessary to respond to the demands of the work environment. And I think we need to ask ourselves whether we are training and creating that critical mass of individuals and groups who can shape into a rapidly changing, technologically driven workplace. But my dear brother, there is a much bigger challenge.
Which is?
Whilst unemployment is a problem, it's a matter of attitude. For those of us who employ people, the attitudinal behavior or people's perception of the workplace is about let it come, grab, and go away. That dedication and loyalty to hard work, the determination to achieve results, that speaks to what a company wants to achieve, is almost non-existent. Okay, so when we talk unemployment and unemployability in this country, we should also be talking about attitudes. What do people want when they come looking for jobs? More often than not, there's a perception that this is a place for me to get immense amounts of money very quickly and move on. That sense of dedication to a company, to a firm, and that personal recognition that delivering optimally brings self-satisfaction is almost non-existent. So in training people for the workplace, we need to bring in issues of hard work, of loyalty, of honesty, and also personal self-satisfaction that I am part of a team that has delivered something.
Okay. Well, Prof, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We are very grateful to you, Professor Kwesi, who is the Director of Academic Affairs at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center.
It's the Super Morning Show on Joy. Stay with us. We're back after these.
What would you do if you have the choice to do anything in life? Build your dream house, take very good care of your family, and plan for a comfortable retirement. Plan a befitting funeral for your loved ones when they depart. How would you live if you knew there was a friend waiting to support you on all of your life's choices.
You have such a friend in Glyco Life Insurance. Glyco Life has all the plans to meet your life's needs. Your child's education, your life savings, your mortgage, funerals, redundancy, and your retirement, and takes the burden off your shoulders. So go ahead and live life to the fullest today with Glyco Life Insurance plans. And remember that all our policies are hedged against inflation. Talk to Glyco Life on 0302 218 500 or 246 142. Also visit our website at www.glycolife.com or any of our branches nationwide for more information.
Glycolife, we cushion you for life.
Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Foreman, how can I say the screening be smooth, perfect, where it dey dry fast like that?
Contractor, I always dey tell you say interface self-leveling screen be the best solution. It dey dry fast, where it dey make the job neat. In fact, it pass analog. This be original digital interface self-leveling screen.
Hey, babe, I hear you, Interface man.
Interface Limited is the leading supplier and installer of finishing input materials for the building and construction industry in Ghana. Call us on 0274 9999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook Interface Limited GH. Instagram interface.limited.
Wow, I just paid my taxes right now. Since they started this pay from anywhere, it has become easier, cra.
Easy, cra. Now nobody has an excuse. So long Jenny no ye jai. Tax, why? Effie, don't tell me you have not been paying taxes, oh.
No, I'm tired of paying. Don't be. It's the taxes we pay that government will use to improve the markets and to build the nation, oh.
I don't know. It just takes your whole day. Hey, you mean you have been going to the GRA office?
Effie, unye current, cra. Come and join us. So I'm not paying taxes, no.
Pay your taxes online, at the bank, or from your phone. Together, we can build a great nation. GRA.
My whole family is proud of the engineer I have become. I owe this success to my mother and a lot of other people, but also to football and the grit I built as I learned the sport. The rejections taught me to keep fighting. The long hours taught me discipline. Knockdowns taught me to bounce back. And those unexpected victories taught me to never give up.
Nourish and energize your kids with Milo to help them succeed in sports. Because the grits they learn in sports, they keep for life. Milo, energy to go further. Milo! This advert is FDA approved.
Wow, Lord.
Hey!
Sasket, a booze again. It be 129 Ghana cedis. Yeah, tisso. The price of the DSTV decoder has dropped from 169 Ghana cedis to 129 Ghana cedis. It shock you, eh? Make it no shock you, cra. This is our gift to you this Ghana month. You go get the Zappa decoder, a dish plus 1 month of DSTV access. Celebrate Ghana and enjoy the best in sports, movies, international and kids shows for less. Men's Slake offer valid from 1st to 31st March 2022. DSTV, see you every moment.
You're welcome back. It's the Super Morning Show on Joy99.7 FM. We're talking about the State of the Nation address, which was delivered by the President yesterday. He talked about Agenda 111.
Mr. Speaker, I have to report, like all major construction projects, it is evident that the initial schedule we gave for the completion of Agenda 111 was overly ambitious. Identifying suitable sites around the country, for example, has turned out to be even more problematic than had been anticipated. I am now able to say that a great deal of the preparatory work has now been completed, and work has started at 87 of the 111 sites. I've been assured that preliminary work on the remaining 24 sites is ongoing. We have every intention of seeing this project through to its successful end, which will enable me to commission all 111 hospitals before I leave office on 7th January 2025. Mr. Speaker, We have saved lives and fared much better than we had feared and the experts predicted. But the consequences of lockdowns, border and business closures, and unplanned expenditures have combined to have a devastating impact on our economy.
Yeah. So, in a moment, we'll speak to the Vice President of the Ghana Medical Association, Justice Youngson, Dr. Justice Youngson. In fact, he joins us now. Dr. Youngson, thank you for your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Kojo.
Right. We've got just a short while, so let's get straight to the point. President says Agenda 111, overly ambitious, but then a new promise that it'll be done for him to commission before he leaves office in January 2025. Your thoughts?
Well, Kojo, I think that it's good that the dream to have this done is still on. I say this because it is just not right for almost 101 districts per the president's speech to exist in this day and age in a country called Ghana, middle income, without a district hospital.
But
if we are to achieve
universal
health coverage, primary health care is key. And district hospitals, what the structures we run, the district hospital sits at the pinnacle of the primary health care agenda. So it is very fair, it is very equitable that each and every district or community gets a share of the health facilities. So the dream for me is good. The association welcomed this whole idea the first time it was brought to the fore because it was a good route to fixing a lot of the infrastructure deficits and the paucity of healthcare delivery structures in some large parts of the country. We think that now that the president has said that, look, the timelines were ambitious, for which reason same have been revised, if you look at what he said. Then what we also want the president to know is that just as we raised in our earlier communications on this whole Agenda 111, in as much as we welcome same, we believe that the human resource that will man these facilities, especially the healthcare professionals, we need to take a critical look at the training. We need to take a critical look at ensuring that we'll have the right numbers, the right mix in these facilities, especially in this day and age where the attrition of health workers from the country to seek greener pastures is actually more or less on the rise now. I think on the station not so long ago, we had cause to discuss some of these issues.
Indeed.
So if we are not able to train, attract, and retain, then we may have challenges when these facilities are completed.
Right.
The issue of maintenance should also be taken care of right from the word go. As the preparatory activities are going, as the construction activities are ongoing, we should ensure that we have clear-cut maintenance schedules for whoever will be in charge of these facilities so that we can get the best out of it. If we are able to fix these things well, then we can begin to enjoy the benefit of good health and also the wealth that it creates through health tourism and all the bits that we all know. So,
right. Dr. Hansen, forgive me for cutting in there, but unfortunately our time is up. But I think your point is very well made. We appreciate your input. This is a conversation that is at its beginning. So hopefully we'll be able to engage you more in the coming days as we discuss it.
Well, so let me tell you about the life insurance you need, which is finally here. Allianz Life and MTN have partnered to bring you a world-class life insurance product called Allianz for Life. To sign on, dial *170# on MTN. We have the most affordable premiums and exciting benefits. So pick up your phone, dial *170#, follow the prompts, and let's get you and your loved ones covered. For more information, call Allianz Life Insurance on 0302-267-892 or visit our website, allianz-gh.com. Allianz for Life, Mato for me life.
Now, thanks for all of your text messages. They're brought to you on the Super Morning Show by the Glycocritical Illness Plan GSIP. It's in your best interest to survive.
Now, did you know that the income of a young entrepreneur from some selected businesses is exempt from tax for 5 years? Any young entrepreneur engaged in manufacturing, information communications technology, agro-processing, energy production, waste processing, tourism and creative arts, horticulture and medicinal plant does not need to pay tax on these activities for the first 5 years of operation. A young entrepreneur engaged in business that enjoys an initial 5-year concession benefits from the following applicable tax rates for an additional 5 years. Accra and Tema, 15%. Other regional capitals outside the 5 regions of the north, 12.5%. Now, outside other regional capitals, 10%. 5 regions of the north, 5%. So for further clarification and information, contact your nearest GRA office, Ghana Revenue Authority, Integrity, Fairness and Service.
Now, Hill City Productions, in partnership with Joy FM, Joy Prime and Hits FM, present My Wife or My Life. A month after an extravagant and lovely wedding, Bright finds out that his wife is 2 months pregnant with her ex-boyfriend. Caught between divorce and revenge amidst pressure from family and the church, will Bright's dilemma lead him to divorce, murder, or suicide? Come witness this intriguing stage play, My Wife or My Life, this Easter season, featuring your favorite actors, Joanne, Gadede, Clemento Suarez, Bright Jefferson, General Ntatia, and many more. My Wife or My Life is an original Hill City Productions play showing at the National Theatre on the 16th and 17th of April 2022 from 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. each night. Tickets are selling for a cool 80 Ghana cedis, and they are available at *713*33*30# on all networks. Manny's Food Community 25 Mall, Tema, and Joy FM Front Desk will also sell you tickets. You can also call 025-686-8640. My Wife or My Life is supported by Manny's Food, GH Media School, and Crumbs. Hill City Productions, the experience.
Yatiso, DSTV decoder, no, Yatiso, a 120 Ghana cedis spare. And this is our gift to you, this Ghana month. So it's ending today. Now you can buy a Zappa decoder dish kit plus 1 month of DSTV access for only 129 Ghana cedis instead of the old price of 169. Menslako. 120 Ghana cedis gives you 129 Ghana cedis gives you the world's best for less for a wide variety of sports, international and kids shows. And it's ending today, so rush now. DSTV, feel every moment.
Now, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, your #1 supplier of quality office essentials, equipment and furniture, is saying go to kingdomstoreonline.com to buy whatever you want from Kingdom without physically going to any of their branches. It's a hassle-free experience. They'll deliver to your home or office in good time, and if you live in Accra or Tema, that delivery will be free. You can pay via Momo across all networks for whatever you buy, and terms and conditions will apply. At Kingdom, quality and affordability is their hallmark.
With your Edafom price, we be 69 Ghana cedis spare. So this Ghana month, if you enjoy the very best in entertainment for less on GoTV, and as our gift to you, you drop a price from 89 Ghana cedis to 69 Ghana cedis. It's a cool deal for you this month of independence into Grabino one time. Catch authentic, relatable African content on Aquaba Magic, Rock GH, and Trace Jama, plus various kids channels, sports, and movies. Trending. It's just 69 Ghana cedis, and there's a limited time offer. It's ending today. GoTV, love it.
All right. Well, I know you love it when we bring you the Super Morning Show. We'll do it again tomorrow. I'm off, though, on another adventure to the Central Region for Joy Prime Explore. I'll tell you all about it when I come back next week. But, of course, Mama V, Winston, and the crew will keep you locked here with the Friday edition of the Super Morning Show. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of the entire team, I say, God bless you. Have a wonderful day. My name is Kojo Youngson.